My name is Annette Lee, and I'm mixed race. My tribe is Dakota Sioux. My communities are Ojibwe and Dakota, the indigenous peoples of Minnesota. And that's what I'm going to share with you a little bit today. So I like to start with my giveaway. I have brought these copies for you to take with you. And one of the first things we did in our work, which is called Native Skywatchers, is to create star maps. It seems sort of like an obvious place to start, but it actually turned out that we really didn't have good maps. In the case of the Ojibwe, there wasn't a map that was published, and for the Dakota, there was just one. So when we were lucky enough to get funding, we got NASA funding through Minnesota Space Grant. Part of the funding was to do the research, but also to do a workshop for teachers. And so it came time to get ready for that workshop, and well, where do we start? Where do we start? And thinking of writing curriculum, and then it suddenly occurred to me that the place to start was a star map. We need a star map to start. So I'd like to share these with all of you. There should be enough. So the yellow one, the yellow background is the Ojibwe one. It's over here on the wall. Ojibwe Gisik, Anung. Anung is star. Masinigan. So it says Ojibwe Gisik is sky. Anung is star. Masinigan is paper. Sky, star, paper. I like to say that I guess you could call us grassroots, because we're the native people. I am Dakota, my husband's Ojibwe. His first language was Ojibwe, so he's the person that's helping to make sure our language is intact, authentic. So we painted this. I'm an astrophysicist and also a professional artist. And so we painted this star map here, the Ojibwe. You might notice that the North Celestial Pole is in the center, the North Star. And going around from the northern stars, the circumpolar stars, are the four seasons. We'll use the four directions and the four seasons so much as guideposts, both in our ceremonies, in everyday life, and in the stars. So that's the Ojibwe map. The one with the orange and a peach background, I painted that only because the Ojibwe star map turned out so good, and I had to have something for the Dakota, right? So I really worked hard and made this one, the Lokoche Uchalkwe Wolawe, the Dakota star map. Again, the north is in the center. And Jim Rock speaks Dakota, and so he took the lead on the language on this. So I also wanted to show you that in addition to the maps that we published in 2012, we just, like this week, delivered to my door back home is our booklet that will go with the maps. Each of the maps has a booklet now, Ojibwe Sky Star Map Constellation Book. It's a guidebook. Just sort of a simple place to begin. But one of the things that I think is really cool is that we've got more about the individual constellations and the context, the cultural context. These are some of the rock paintings of the constellations. We have artwork that is able to talk about the constellations in a little bit deeper way, and close-ups of the map. But then layered in with that are also the astronomical treasures. Just to say, we're going to hold both, one in the right hand and one in the left hand, and put them all in the same booklet. So those have ISBN numbers and will be available online to anyone. Those are just now in their final print stages. So I wanted to also show you that these maps have their own websites, and one of the things I'm really excited about too is that there's so much of the language that is rooted in this. It's really woven together. And it's important to see that because right now we're at this time where it's being lost. So you'll see a lot of, there's like Jim Rock, he says his father was like one of the last seven Dakota first language speakers. And then he passed away. So there's only like 5 left now. So the thing is that this is a moment. It's an urgent moment. There's a lot of it is lost because of the history, the historical trauma, the reservation system, all the tragedies that have come since colonization, right? But the good part is that people are really hungry and wanting to not let this go. It's not too far gone. And so we have a lot of our efforts go into writing stuff down with the protocol and respecting the traditions. And so we have here recordings so people can hear how things are said. So let's say, so one of my favorite constellations, the Thunderbird.
Wakiam.
And then in addition to that, we also have the curriculum. So we've created a lot of curriculum, and this is some of it. But one of the things that I'm really excited about is I made a star wheel, one of those planispheres. And it's really hard to find ones that are blank, like the constellations aren't already drawn in. And so that's what I made, one that was blank. And so you learn the constellations by looking in the night sky, that's the best. But you develop that relationship by practicing it. And so you can practice it on a piece of paper by finding those constellations and connecting the stars when it's not nighttime to help build that relationship. So this is the planisphere, and you can see that I made it kind of smaller. On the outside edges are the moons, and there's a lot to say there that the moons are very much connected to the land and what's important with the seasons and the culture. And so the months are written up here in the language, and here's the translation. So this would be September, moon when rice is laid to dry. So that's something that something that people can use in their classrooms, and then and so then everyone is excited when also the solutions are the actual constellations that I drew in. And they can make the planisphere, so you make a little holder, and then you just cut this out and put it in there, and then you can set it for any day, any time of the year to find a snapshot. Okay, so back to the program, we have a team. I think that it's so important to point out that this is not an individual effort. This is a community effort, like all of you know, and no one person owns it, and no one person should get all the credit. And it really, like it or not, it really is like that, because it's almost as if we're at the point where people just come to the table with a piece of it, and then another person comes with another piece, and so we are forced to work together because no one knows all of it anymore. But it's sort of the beauty of it too. So these are some of our main collaborators: Carl, William, Jeff, Jim Rock, myself, Charlene, Paul, and Arvel and Albert. Some of these guys passed away, so they're helping from the other side. Also, like to point out, as far as like published material, there are really, until these started going, there were 2 items. Carl's book here, co-written with a geologist, identifying these rock paintings as constellations, Ojibwe constellations. So here you have fall, winter, and spring. And then Ron Goodman's book, Lakota Star Knowledge. So I always say that our goal is to build community. So we kind of started with this group of folks, and then as we go around and grow, we try to add more people into our circle and to build community around the star knowledge, the native star knowledge. That's our goal. Just a little bit on where we're at. So this is Minnesota, where we live, right along the Mississippi River, up here by the Great Lakes, United States, and right here, Minneapolis. And this is our state. We have sort of Ojibwe tribes. These are the reservations in the north, and Dakota in the south. I was also going to point out that, you probably know this, but Ojibwe is the same as Chippewa, but Ojibwe is the name that we call ourselves, as opposed to a name that was placed on the people. Ojibwe is the same as Chippewa, and Lakota is the same as Sioux, another mistaken name. But I should also point out that the real name for the Dakota is Ochete Sakowin Oyate, which means seven starfire people. And within that, it's Dakota, Lakota, and Dakota. So, anyways.
Sorry, and Ojibwe, what does it mean in your language?
Ojibwe is the name of the tribe.
But what does it mean in your mother tongue?
What does it mean? I'm not sure. I'll have to ask William. But I know people also say Anishinaabe. They kind of use that the same as Ojibwe. And Anishinaabe, William has told me that means the people. So here's the workshop poster that I painted, and here's our workshop. We just had it at the end of June. Mostly geared toward teachers, but we say teachers and everyone who wants to learn about and talk about the star knowledge. I wanted to also point out the funding has been very generous, and I'm very thankful for that because I know that that's not always the case. And it is through getting this kind of support that it's just propelled this work. I mean, it's really helped this work. So instead of me having a teaching load of 400 students a semester, I have time to go out and talk to people and talk to elders and talk to everyone and make these maps together. So the other thing I wanted to point out is that another thing that's helped propel this work is that I was doing a planetarium show. We had a bunch of third graders, and I'm pointing out, here's the Ojibwe mountain lion, the Mishibaju, and I was pointing out some of the native constellations, and the teacher came running up to me afterwards, and she said, well, how do you know this? How do you know this? And where can I get more information? And I said, well, these are my communities. This is my identity. This is what we do. And she said, well, did you know about the state standards? Now, I didn't know anything about it, but it just so happens that it was written in 2009 and 2010. The state of Minnesota published their science standards for K through 12, kindergarten through 12th grades. And within that standards, it talks about how people that teachers need to bring in, how people from different cultures have participated and contributed in science and still are. And so I was really excited and kind of blown away to hear this. And then if you look it's a real thick document, it says on one of the benchmarks, understand that everybody can use evidence to learn about the natural world, identify patterns in nature, and develop tools. For example, Ojibwe and Dakota knowledge and use of patterns in the stars to predict and plan. Yay! Yeah, and this Jim Rock, one of our team members, was part of the instrumental in getting this into the standards. Yeah, and I think that having said that, though, one of the things I also have to say that third grade teacher, the group that she brought was mostly Native kids. And she was teaching at a school right on the reservation, and she was telling me how they didn't have anything. So she was saying, like, we're being asked to do this, these are the standards, but we have no material, and even people at our school, the resource people and the library, they can't find anything. Can you please give us something? And that's where the maps were born. So getting this back to the young people, as Dwayne was saying, is one of our top priorities. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes. In the remaining time, I would like to share with you two constellations. The star knowledge is very rich and deep and very layered. It's hard to condense it down because then it becomes like a cartoon. You lose the depth and the real beauty of it too. But I'll do my best to just give you a taste, and it's hard to do this because there's so much good stuff to say, but I'll just try to get the basic idea here. So one of the most important ideas that is in both the Ojibwe and the Dakota star knowledge is the idea, as it is above, it is below. And sometimes we go like this. As it is above, it is below, and I hear that this is actually very common globally, so I'm interested in that too. But I personally have heard many elders say this, like in ceremonies and things. This over the years, when I was smaller, you just hear them talk about that. You kind of don't understand it, and then as you grow up and learn, it kind of makes more sense. But the idea here is that we're down here in the earth, material world, the physical part, and that's very real, and that's where we're at. But there's another part that's also very real, and it's the other half of the whole, which is the star world, the spirit world, and the sky world. It's two halves of one whole. But even more than that, it's like I said, very deep. But what it says is that the above and the below, one, that they're both real, they're both here, and two, that we came from here and now we're here, but there's a doorway right here. So as much as possible, we're supposed to live our lives where we recognize the above and below, and we try to make a connection, a relationship, so that opens that door. And when we do that, there's a flow. Energy flows of healing, good things flow through that doorway when it opens. In fact, these are drawn like two teepees, like triangles, but it's really more like a whirlpool. Like this, like a vortex. In fact, this word here, kapemini, there's a word for this because it's so important. And it's a mirroring or reflection. This part of kapemini, mani, means water. Mani. And that has the idea of that flowing, the above and below. So if I've got time for two constellations, I picked the loon, which is Hmong. Hmong is the Ojibwe, how you would say the loon. And how many people here have actually seen a loon or know the loon? Okay, so the loon is at this place where what a lot of people would call the Little Dipper. Here's the little scoop, and here's the handle, and this would be Polaris, the North Star, right here. So back home, we would have in the north, Polaris would be at 45 degrees above the horizon, and all of those stars would be circling around counterclockwise. The Big Dipper just goes around and around counterclockwise. That Polaris right there is very close to the North Celestial Pole, the motionless point, right? So this is that point, like if I always tell the kids, if I'm the Earth and I'm spinning around, On my rotational axis, there's a point on the ceiling above my head that's motionless. And that's where the North Star is, above the North Pole, the rotational axis of the Earth. So it's all about that stillness, because it doesn't move, literally. It's the only star in the sky in our northern hemisphere that appears motionless. And so it's a real place of honor, we even talk about the North Star as being one of the leaders of the star nation. And so you have to ask the question then, of all the animals, why would you pick this bird? And it's like a duck-like bird, the loon. And so the short answer to that, which I actually learned a lot about as I went around talking to people, there's a few answers. One is simply that the pattern of the bird, of the all black feathers with white dots. Right there is an example of the reflection as above is below. The loon has a very close connection with water. It's one of these birds that always prefers to be on the water. In fact, if you look at the bird, do you see the back legs? Don't they look kind of funny? The word loon comes from a Scandinavian word that means lame or awkward. This bird can hardly walk on land. And the reason is because it's like its legs are way too far back, and it almost looks like the feet are backwards. And this is because it is built to swim and to dive. Okay, so there's kind of funny examples where these birds, they will land in a puddle, like in a field when there's a lot of rain, the fields get puddles, and they get stuck there. They're like beached because they need large amounts of water in order to take off, like an airport landing field, and to land. So they always have this very close connection to the water. So the other thing is that the loon needs clear water because it survives by seeing into the water and then diving down and then stabbing the fish, like spearing the fish, eating. So the loon, you can imagine it sits on the top of these bigger lakes. We got a lot of lakes in Minnesota. And it sits on these big lakes and really prefers our calm, clear waters. And so the teaching here is that this loon is very closely connected to stillness. And the idea is that the sky is above, and then the earth is below with a thin layer of water in between. And the loon is also very important because it's the leader of the clan system. So they're all the different animals. The loon is one of the leaders. The loon and the crane, these two birds. It depends who you talk to. The loon is a leader of the clan system, so it's the leader in the night sky as all the other stars move around it. So I just wanted to share with you that these are two paintings. This one's William's painting. This is the loon actually placing the stars. So, for example, this is the sun, Venus transit. And this is the moon, some of the bigger planets. And they're coming from the loon. Here's our Earth. It still has yet to be placed in the sky by the moon. And this one down here, 7 bright stars, the Big Dipper. This one is it's a little bit dark, but this is one of my paintings. This is the Hmong, the loon, the doorkeeper of the north. So I have a few of our postcards from our art show. We have 2 big art shows going on right now with Native Sky Watchers, Reach for the Art in the Sky. And so I am employed as a professor of astronomy and physics, but I'm also a professional artist, and it's the painting that feeds my soul and my heart. And I've been lucky enough to keep it going. So there's that. So do we have time for one more constellation, or should we end there? Okay, we can end there.
All right, shall we? Matteo, can you come up and switch? Are there questions, Noah?
I'm sorry, I always have these troublesome questions. I was comparing these two maps, and the constellations do not match. They show different images. Now, I understand that the distance between these two communities is maybe a couple of 100 miles, right?
It's just in the same area.
Yeah, but they are so
There's a
different.
lot of overlapping and plenty.
Why are they so different? Why a turtle in one map is represented as an elk?
The turtle is the moose. The turtle is Dakota, which is the Greek moose, or which is the Greek Pegasus, which is the Ojibwe moose. Yeah, I mean there was some blending because the Ojibwe and the Dakota are in that same geographical location, but folks are able to keep their own constellations, so they're not the same. Yeah, but that's a good point.